Ray J has fans terrified after reports claimed he suffered a heart attack following his brutal knockout at Adin Ross brand risk event. But what's making the situation even more disturbing are the comments Ray J made right after the fight about how things were never supposed to end this way. Here's what happened. Super Hot Fire, portrayed by Adin Ross, knocked out rapper Ray J at just 26 seconds into the second round during their celebrity MMA fight on Saturday, May 23, 2026. The co-main event, held at the UFC Apex, also known as the Meta Apex, in Las Vegas, Nevada, ended when Adin Ross landed a clean shot directly to Ray J's face. The 45-year-old rapper lost his balance, stumbled into the ropes, and collapsed to the canvas. The referee stopped it immediately. The bout was a featured attraction of the Brand Risk 14 event, promoted by Brand Risk Promotions and hosted by popular streamer Adin Ross. To understand why that night hit different for so many people watching, you have to understand what Ray J had already told the world about his body just a few months before he ever agreed to step into that cage. The singer and actor had publicly stated that his heart was only beating at around 25% capacity after he was hospitalized for a severe case of pneumonia. In videos circulating online, Ray J, aged 45, said doctors told him he doesn't have much longer to live. 2027 is definitely a wrap for me, he said. He gestured to his heart and said the right side had gone black from alcohol and drug use. So that is the man who signed up to fight. Not a man who had recovered. Not a man with a clean bill of health. A man who, just weeks earlier, was publicly saying his heart was done. And before the One Wish singer stepped into that cage, his friend Chris Brown had told him directly, "Please don't get your ass hooped, and do not die." Chris Brown saw it coming from a mile away and said it straight to Ray J's face. Ray J went out there anyway. The bout ended just 26 seconds into the second round after Super Hot Fire landed a clean combination that dropped Ray J to the canvas. Ray J had started the fight aggressively, pressing forward through the opening round and appearing to control much of the pace. Super Hot Fire spent most of that first round circling and avoiding exchanges, which led commentators to question whether he was conserving energy or simply struggling to respond. The momentum shifted fast at the start of round 2. Ray J rushed forward and walked directly into a massive counter from Super Hot Fire that landed flush on the chin and immediately folded him into the ropes. He eventually got back to his feet, but he was so dazed the referee had no choice. The fight was over. And then, as if being knocked unconscious in a cage wasn't enough for one night, Ray J grabbed the microphone. "Yo, I thought we had a plan," he declared, speaking directly to his opponent. "For real. My N*, that's janky as FK. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to get anybody in trouble, but damn. We took an L tonight." He reportedly told people around him, "We had a plan. Do you know how much money we lost?" The internet exploded. Chris Brown had warned him. The fight was licensed by the state of Nevada. And here was Ray J, fresh off the canvas, admitting the whole thing was scripted to go differently, with a heart functioning at 25% in a sanctioned MMA fight at Adin Ross Brand Risk 14. To understand why that knockout sent shockwaves through the internet, you have to go back to January 2026 and understand just how dire things already were for Ray J before he ever signed on the dotted line. Ray J, the R&B performer, younger brother of pop star Brandy, known for hits like One Wish and Sexy Can I, a reality TV veteran, and the man at the center of the 2007 Kim Kardashian tape, had spent most of his public life existing somewhere between genuine musical talent and tabloid spectacle. He was always watchable, always in the mix. But what unfolded in early 2026 was something else entirely. In January of that year, Ray J said he was hospitalized with severe pneumonia and heart pain, later posting that he almost died and that his heart function had been dangerously reduced. He said he was now on 8 different medications and had been instructed to radically change his lifestyle, including strict limits on alcohol and smoking. That alone would have been a devastating health update. But Ray J went further. In a January 27th Instagram post, he thanked fans for their prayers and revealed he had recently been hospitalized, noting in the caption that he almost died. In live streams and interviews, the picture grew darker and darker. He described being told he may not live into 2027, statements that were not independently verified through medical records, but consistent with the kind of blunt warning doctors sometimes deliver when a patient's heart function is severely impaired and risk factors remain high. He gestured to his chest and said the right side was black from alcohol and drug use. "It's like done," he said. Ray J repeatedly admitted he had previously been drinking 4 to 5 bottles of alcohol a day and taking up to 10 Adis. Medical professionals prescribed him 8 different medications, including heart failure treatments like Entresto and Jardiance, to manage his deteriorating condition. His medical team warned that a pacemaker or defibrillator might be necessary to keep him alive, with a critical follow-up appointment expected within 14 days to make that determination. To put that in context, Entresto is not a standard medication. It is specifically prescribed for patients with chronic heart failure. It is the kind of drug you are given when your heart can no longer pump efficiently on its own and your medical team is trying to buy you time. Combined with the 25% function figure, you are looking at a level of cardiac impairment that most doctors would describe as severe heart failure territory. Friends in the background of his videos urged Ray J not to listen to the doctors, telling him he would live to see his children grow up. He said not being able to see his kids had taken him down and made him realize he needed to change. At the time, Ray J was under a criminal protective order preventing him from seeing his children, having been arrested in November on suspicion of pointing a gun at his estranged wife, Princess Love, following a bitter custody and legal battle. He was a father of 2, locked out of his kids' lives, fighting health problems he had partly brought on himself, and carrying the weight of a gun charge on top of all of it. So this is the full picture of where Ray J was at the start of 2026. Legal problems. A gun charge. A collapsed marriage. A criminal protective order keeping him from his kids. 8 medications. A heart running at 25%. Doctors saying he might not see 2027. And somewhere in the middle of all of that chaos and darkness, someone put a brand risk 14 fight contract in front of him, and he signed it. Social media users reacted strongly to Ray J's health confession, with some questioning the sincerity of his announcement and others expressing genuine concern. On Instagram, one user theorized that Ray J was high when he shared the news, calling him diabolical. Another argued it was a cry for help. That divide between people who thought he was performing and people who thought he was genuinely unraveling would follow Ray J all the way to Las Vegas. Since its launch in 2024, Brand Risk has pitted celebrities and content creators against each other in viral combat bouts. Adin Ross built the promotion into one of the most watched influencer fight products on the internet, feeding off exactly the kind of chaotic, unpredictable spectacle that drives clicks and streams. The formula is simple: take names people recognize, put them in a combat sports setting, and let the internet do the rest. On Saturday, May 23, 2026, Adin Ross rolled out Brand Risk 14 live and free on YouTube from inside UFC's Meta Apex in Las Vegas. It was the promotion's first time hosting at UFC's in-house venue, due in part to Ross' relationship with UFC CEO Dana White, who was planned to be in attendance. Brand Risk 14 was headlined by Johnny Manziel against Bob Menery. In the co-main, R&B star Ray J squared off against internet sensation Supa Hotfire. On paper, this was Adin Ross' biggest event yet. The UFC Apex lending legitimacy to the production. Dana White in the building. And crucially, the event was licensed by the Nevada State Athletic Commission. That last detail matters. Because the NSAC licensing Ray J to fight at all, given everything that was publicly known about his heart, became one of the central points of outrage in the aftermath. When the NSAC gets involved, there is a certain level of safety and scrutiny that you would expect to happen, which, by most accounts, simply did not happen on this card. Ray J had announced earlier in the year that he only had months to live and was suffering from severe heart issues. And yet he managed to pass the medicals and get sanctioned for an MMA fight in the state of Nevada. The question that nobody seemed able to answer was, how? How does a man who publicly stated his heart was functioning at 25%, who was prescribed heart failure medication, who was warned about potentially needing a defibrillator, pass a medical clearance to fight in a sanctioned MMA bout? Now his opponent. Because Supa Hotfire was not just some random internet personality thrown into the mix. Supa Hotfire, real name Dwayne Stevenson, is a viral parody rapper best known for the punchline, "I'm not a rapper." While he originally built his fame through comedy and viral content, he was no stranger to combat sports, most recently dropping a split-decision boxing match to Gypsy Crusader at a Brand Risk Promotions event in Miami on March 14th, 2026. He was a veteran of the Brand Risk format. And in the lead-up to May 23rd, he had been goading Ray J all week, referencing the Kim Kardashian tape and taunting him about his music career. The two nearly came to blows multiple times at the press conference. At one point, Ray J got out of his seat and stormed towards Supa Hotfire's chair before security intervened. Later, after thanking Adin Ross for the opportunity, Ray J got emotional about his motivation. "I'm not just fighting for me," he said, his voice trailing off. "I'm fighting for my kids." When a fan directly pressed him on his health at the press conference, Ray J didn't flinch. "You want to see me die, bro?" he fired back. "That's why I'm putting it all in the ring. If this N*** can really do it, he'll kill me in the ring. I'm dying for mine." Despite training with combat sports legends Chuck Liddell and Quinton Rampage Jackson, Ray J was unable to overcome the 35-year-old Deshaun Raw. Chris Brown arrived during the prelims and stayed through to watch his fellow musician compete. Other attendees included Sean Strickland, and the commentary desk featured Nina Drama and Armin Sukian. The room was stacked. The eyes were on Ray J. And on commentary, Adin Ross seemed genuinely confused by his opponent's obvious non-effort. Supa Hotfire had a dancer in his corner and even took a FaceTime call during the fight. That detail. A FaceTime call mid-fight. He was barely breaking a sweat, toying with the whole situation. And the reason why would be answered in the most chaotic way imaginable just moments later. The fight itself was suspicious from the very beginning. Supa Hotfire refused to throw a single serious punch in the first round. Then in the second, Ray J backed him up against the ropes and threw a few body shots, which was directly followed by Supa connecting with a hard right hook square to the face. Ray J spun and fell into the ropes before hitting the canvas. He eventually got back to his feet, but he was so dazed the referee waved it off. The official result, Supa Hotfire by knockout, second round, 26 seconds in. What happened next was the real story. Standing on the canvas, microphone in hand, Ray J blew the whole thing open. "Yo, I thought we had a plan," he said, speaking directly to his opponent. "That's janky as F***K. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to get anybody in trouble, but damn. We took an L tonight. Do you know how much money we lost?" According to reports, Ray J had an arrangement with Supa Hotfire before the fight, and when Supa went off script and actually knocked him out, they both lost money in the process. He walked into a sanctioned MMA cage, said he was ready to die, trained with 2 Hall of Famers, and apparently expected the whole thing to be scripted. That is where things shifted from irresponsible to potentially something far more serious in the eyes of the combat sports community. A sanctioned fight, licensed by the Nevada State Athletic Commission, with a man whose heart was functioning at 25%, and now there are allegations the outcome was prearranged. The layers here are genuinely staggering. What is clear is that Ray J was furious, and Supa Hotfire left with the official MMA win on his record. The internet, predictably, had its field day. Clips of the knockout circulated everywhere. Some creators mocked it, questioned why a man with his health history was in an MMA fight at all, and pointed to the post-fight mic moment as proof the whole card was a circus. Canadian streamer XQC said what Ray J did was disrespectful to Adin Ross and his event, arguing he shouldn't have been included in the promotion at all. The comment sections ranged from shock to dark humor to genuine anger. "That was a setup. Losing like that is just too brutal. This is why brand risk will forever be a joke." Ray J really mixing pain, PR, and profit loss in one sentence. Adin really booked a whole family reunion just to watch Ray J get folded in front of everybody. And then there was Chris Brown. A clip went viral of his reaction to watching his friend go down. The internet treated it as both hilarious and genuinely heartbreaking at the same time. This was someone who had seen Ray J's condition up close, warned him publicly, and then had to sit there and watch it happen anyway. Now, let's zoom out and talk about what this night actually revealed. Because beyond the memes and the viral clips, there are serious threads here worth examining. The knockout on May 23, 2026, was not just a celebrity losing a fight. The nature of it brought immediate renewed attention to Ray J's physical well-being. A man with a heart functioning at 25%, on 8 medications, warned about needing a defibrillator, told by his own doctors that 2027 might be a wrap, stepped into a cage and got knocked unconscious. The question isn't just about Ray J's judgment. It's about the entire system that allowed it to happen. If the medicals were truly strict, it is hard to understand how a man with this level of publicly documented cardiac impairment gets cleared to absorb punches from another human being in a sanctioned athletic contest. Then there is the rigging allegation. If Ray J's post-fight words are taken at face value, that he and Supa Hotfire had a plan, that the outcome was prearranged, that they lost money when it went off script, then a licensed, regulated commission may have sanctioned what was effectively a predetermined fight. That is not just embarrassing for brand risk. That is potentially a serious legal problem for everyone involved. Now, to be direct about one thing. The title of this video says Ray J suffered a heart attack after the knockout. As of the time this script was written, there is no confirmed, verified report that Ray J suffered a clinical heart attack in the immediate aftermath of the Brand Risk 14 knockout. What is documented and confirmed is that he entered that cage with a heart functioning at a fraction of its capacity, on heart failure medications, with doctors having warned him about pacemakers and defibrillators, got knocked unconscious, and then went on a microphone rant about a rigged fight while still visibly dazed. Whether or not a clinical cardiac event occurred in the locker room or after the broadcast ended, a man in severe, publicly documented heart failure was knocked out in a licensed fight. And that alone represents one of the most reckless moments in recent celebrity combat sports history. I shouldn't have went this hard, Ray J had admitted months earlier, reflecting on the lifestyle that got him here. He spoke about not being able to see his children, about wanting to change. "I'm not just fighting for me, I'm fighting for my kids," he said at that press conference, a man in his condition, with everything he was carrying emotionally, stepping into a cage. That is the real story underneath all the memes. At the end of the night, the scorecard read Supa Hotfire, official winner by knockout, second round. The victory improved Supa's combat record, which stood at 2-3 with one knockout prior to the event. And Ray J walked away, or was helped away, carrying not just a loss, but a fresh round of serious questions about whether he should have ever been in that building at all. Underneath the jokes and the reaction clips was something the comment sections weren't really built to hold, a genuine, legitimate concern about a human being who is clearly in crisis, making increasingly dangerous decisions in very public ways, and being enabled by a system that profits from exactly that kind of spectacle. Brand Risk is an entertainment product. It works because people watch. And the night Ray J got knocked out by Supa Hotfire in the second round, millions of people watched. The question of where the line is between entertainment and exploitation, between a man's right to make his own choices and an institution's responsibility not to put a medically compromised person in harm's way, is one that Brand Risk 14 threw into sharp relief, whether Adin Ross intended it to or not. What comes next for Ray J is unclear. What is clear is that he walked into the most famous MMA venue in the world with a heart running on a quarter of its capacity, got knocked out cold, accused his opponent of reneging on a rigged deal, lost money, and became the most talked about moment of a card that also featured Johnny Manziel, 2 NBA veterans, and a genuinely chaotic week of press content. In the main event, former Heisman Trophy winner and NFL quarterback Johnny Manziel squared off against podcast creator Bob Menery in a dual MMA debut. And still, Ray J was the story. He always is. If you've mad,